All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're looking into some tricky legal stuff.
Oh, yeah?
You've probably heard about the charges against former President Trump, right?
Right.
About how he handled classified documents.
After leaving office.
Yeah, after leaving office. Well, now, a group of conservatives are challenging that whole case.
Hmm.
They're saying that the appointment of Special Counsel Jack Smith
Oh, wow.
was unconstitutional.
So the guy leading the investigation.
Yeah, they're arguing he shouldn't even be in that position.
That's a big claim. Could that actually derail the whole thing?
That's what we're going to unpack, yeah.
Okay, so this challenge isn't about the evidence, is it?
No.
It's about whether Smith even had the power to investigate at all.
Exactly. They're saying he's been operating on, like, shaky legal ground this whole time.
That's it.
And the basis for all of this is something called the Appointments Clause in the Constitution.
Yeah, the Appointments Clause, that's all about how certain federal officials get their jobs, right?
Right.
Like a really important hiring process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in this case, the argument boils down to whether the Office of Special Counsel was created the right way,
Okay.
according to the Constitution.
Right.
There's actually a line in one of the amicus briefs.
Amicus briefs.
Yeah, those are basically documents submitted by a group that wants to offer their opinion on the case,
Got it.
but they're not directly involved. Anyway, it says, because there was no legislation specifically creating an Office of Special Counsel when the Attorney General appointed Mr. Smith on November 18, 2022, the challenged appointment must be invalidated because Congress had not established the Office of Special Counsel as the Appointments Clause requires.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is.
So basically, they're saying that Congress should have passed a specific law to create the special counsel position.
Right.
And since they didn't, Smith's appointment is, poof, gone.
Yeah.
But for those of us who aren't, constitutional scholars,
Right.
can you break down the Appointments Clause? Like, what does it actually say?
Sure.
Why does it even matter in this case?
Okay. The Appointments Clause is in Article 2 of the Constitution,
Okay.
and it sets out rules for how certain federal positions get filled.
Okay.
So think of it like this.
Right.
You've got the big, important principal officers.
Okay.
These are like your cabinet members and federal judges.
Uh-huh.
They have to be nominated by the president
Right.
and then confirmed by the Senate.
Got it.
Then you've got the inferior officers.
Okay.
These guys can be appointed by the president alone,
Right.
or a court, or the heads of departments.
I see.
So the fight here is about whether the special counsel is a principal or inferior officer.
And if they were appointed correctly, right.
Exactly.
So they're saying the special counsel has so much power
Right.
and they can operate for so long that they should be treated like a principal officer.
Yeah.
Like Smith's acting like a high-level official without actually going through the proper channels.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it gets even more complicated.
Oh, no.
There's another argument tied into this. It's related to the Appropriations Clause.
Appropriations Clause.
Yeah, that one basically says that Congress controls all the government's money.
Okay.
So the groups challenging Smith are also saying that if his appointment wasn't valid,
Right.
then all the money spent on this investigation could be unlawful.
Whoa. So this challenge is attacking on two fronts.
Yeah,
The legality of the appointment and the funding.
exactly.
Like pulling a thread that could unravel the whole thing.
Yeah.
But has this kind of challenge even been made before?
Well, the circumstances are unique.
Right.
The Appointments Clause has definitely been debated before
I see.
throughout history.
Oh, for sure.
Different interpretations,
Yeah.
And actually, this issue was already raised in the lower court.
Oh, right. When Judge Aileen Cannon initially dismissed the case?
That's the one.
Yeah.
She sided with Trump and dismissed it based on her take on the Appointments Clause.
Okay.
But then that decision was overturned on appeal.
Uh.
That's why we're now at this crucial stage at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals.
Got it.
And there's actually a Supreme Court justice who's expressed some interesting thoughts about all this.
Oh, you mean Justice Clarence Thomas?
Yeah, he's been pretty skeptical about the whole special counsel role.
I've heard that.
He's concerned about the broad powers they have.
Mm-hmm.
Thinks they might step on the president's toes a bit,
Yeah, interesting.
He's the only justice who's questioned the constitutionality of the whole office.
So we've got this complex constitutional challenge.
You do?
Historical precedents, lower court rulings, Supreme Court justices weighing in.
That's a lot.
It's like a legal thriller. But for you listening, here's why this matters. If this challenge works, it could change how special counsels are used in future investigations.
Right, making it much harder to hold powerful people accountable.
Exactly.
It's a big deal.
It really is. This is a deep dive with some serious stakes. So should we keep going?
Absolutely. Let's see where this takes us. Makes you think about the bigger picture, huh?
Yeah, totally.
How this one case could change the whole legal system.
Right. To get a sense of that, maybe we should look back at how special counsels have worked before. I mean, they've been around for a while, haven't they?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Special counsels have been a part of things for a long time.
Okay.
Their authority has changed over time, for sure.
Right. The first thing that pops into my head is Watergate.
Uh-huh.
That whole special prosecutor thing. Was that similar to what we're seeing with Jack Smith?
A lot of people see Watergate as a turning point for special counsels.
Interesting.
Back then, a special prosecutor was appointed to investigate President Nixon,
Right.
and that led to his resignation.
Wow. So it seems like special counsels have played a big role in holding powerful people accountable.
Absolutely. Watergate showed how crucial it is to have an independent way to investigate wrongdoing,
I see.
especially when it involves top officials. But here's the thing. The groups challenging Smith's appointment say Watergate actually supports their case.
Hold on, really? How does that work?
They argued that there's no consistent historical pattern to justify the current special counsel setup.
Okay, so Watergate supports their argument because...
they say the historical examples are too different from each other.
I see.
They point to the way special prosecutors and independent counsels were appointed in the past.
Okay.
And they say that undermines the idea that there's this long tradition backing up Smith's appointment.
So it's about how you interpret history. Both sides are using it to their advantage.
Exactly.
And the 11th Circuit has to sort through all of that.
Yep.
This is getting really complex. So if the court sides with these conservative groups, could it be harder to appoint special counsels in the future?
It's definitely possible. A ruling against Smith could make it more difficult in similar situations.
Okay.
You might see more legal challenges, investigations could be delayed, maybe even derailed completely.
And what about the bigger picture? What could this mean for the balance of power between the president, Congress, and the courts?
Oh, that's important. The Constitution divides power between those branches.
Right.
Right. Well, the groups challenging Smith are basically arguing that the current special counsel setup gives too much power to the president. Like it infringes on Congress's authority to keep an eye on the Justice Department.
So they're saying it messes up the balance of power that's supposed to be there?
Exactly. They're worried that if a special counsel can be appointed without Congress being clearly on board, it could lead to investigations based on political motives.
And that would undermine the whole justice system.
Absolutely.
It's kind of scary when you think about it. So what happens next? What are the possible outcomes here?
Well, if the 11th Circuit agrees that Smith's appointment was okay, the Mar-a-Lago case will probably just keep moving forward.
Okay.
The investigation continues, and we could see more legal action against Trump.
But what if they rule against Smith? Does the whole case against Trump just disappear?
It could, yeah. If they say Smith's appointment was invalid, it throws the whole investigation into question.
Right.
It's possible any evidence his team collected would be thrown out in court.
Uh-huh.
And that could mean the charges against Trump are dismissed.
That would be a huge twist.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
But even if that doesn't happen, even if the Mar-a-Lago case goes on, this decision could have much wider effects.
It reminds us that all this isn't just theoretical. There are real-world consequences.
Absolutely. A ruling against Smith could make people hesitant to use special counsels in the future. Future presidents might be more likely to fight back against investigations.
And be harder to hold accountable.
Exactly. What about the Department of Justice?
Yeah, the DOJ. Would this change how they handle these kinds of sensitive investigations?
It probably would, yeah.
Yeah.
If the ruling goes against Smith, the DOJ might need to rethink how they appoint special counsels.
Okay.
They might have to get more direct approval from Congress or change how the whole special counsel office works.
So we're talking about a potential fundamental shift in how these investigations are done.
Pretty much. The rules for investigating powerful people could be completely rewritten, and that would have a lasting impact.
This case really does have huge implications. But beyond the immediate stuff, what does this case tell us about where our democracy is right now?
That's a great question. I think it shows how fragile our democratic systems can be.
Yeah.
And how important checks and balances are. When people question the legitimacy of an investigation, it erodes trust in the rule of law. And that just feeds the partisan divides we see everywhere.
It shows that we have to keep working at democracy. It doesn't just happen automatically.
I agree.
It takes being vigilant and committed to fairness and holding people accountable.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This case shows the need for open and honest conversations,
Right.
respectful debate, and a commitment to keeping our institutions strong.
Well put. As we wait for the court's decision, we have to remember that this is about way more than just legal technicalities.
Sure.
It's about protecting the core principles that make democracy function.
Yeah.
Really makes you think, huh,
It does.
about how this whole thing, this dispute over Jack Smith's appointment,
Yeah.
could show us these weak points in our democracy.
It shows that democracy is always being challenged, always changing.
Right.
Every time we face something like this,
Yeah.
it forces us to look at our institutions, how they're working.
And this challenge to Smith, it feels like a real test, doesn't it?
It does.
So much depends on what the courts decide about these constitutional clauses.
A lot riding on that.
It's fascinating to dig into, but also
Yeah.
a little unsettling, you know?
I get it.
I mean, for our listener, for someone who's following every twist and turn of the Mar-a-Lago case,
Right.
this adds a whole other level of uncertainty.
Exactly. It's like a side story that could take over the whole plot.
Right.
We're all waiting to see what happens with this constitutional drama.
And what it means for the case against Trump.
Absolutely.
It's not just some theoretical debate, is it?
No.
This is real life.
Yeah.
Real consequences.
Real people.
Yeah, it makes you question things. Accountability, transparency,
Mm-hmm.
the whole foundation of our legal system.
It really gets to the heart of how we do these investigations.
Yeah.
How do we make sure they're fair, impartial,
Right.
but also respect the balance of power in government?
Right.
These questions have been around forever.
It's crazy to think about, isn't it?
It is.
These aren't just things you read about in history books.
know.
They're happening right now.
Right in front of us.
It's important for everyone to think about this stuff, isn't it?
It is.
To understand both sides of the argument.
And think critically.
Yeah, think about what's at stake here.
Exactly.
Oh, I think we've done that today.
I think so too.
We've looked at the arguments, the history.
The potential outcomes.
Yeah, all the what ifs.
It's been a real deep dive.
In every sense of the word.
And like any good deep dive, it makes you want to keep exploring.
Right. It leaves you with more questions.
This case isn't over.
And it could have a ripple effect for years to come.
Absolutely.
So to our listener, if you want to stay in the loop,
Stay informed.
keep up with the news, read analysis, talk about these issues with people.
We'll have those conversations.
The future of our democracy really depends on citizens being informed and engaged.
Couldn't agree more. And as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one last thought.
Okay.
No matter how the court rules on this challenge to Jack Smith,
Yeah.
the questions it brings up about accountability, transparency, balance of power,
Mm-hmm.
those questions are going to stay with us.
It's a debate we all need to be part of.
Exactly. We need to think critically, work towards a future where our democracy is strong
Resilient.
and truly serves everyone.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, keep pushing for a better future.
We'll see you then.